Hey girlies, just a quick reminder before we dive into today's episode. The information shared on this podcast is intended to be general sports nutrition advice and education related to period recovery for female athletes. This is not specific to any one individual, and it may or may not apply to your situation. If you are looking for personalized guidance, be sure to apply to our RBSN Period Recovery Nutrition Coaching Program. Our 4-month period recovery program is designed to help you sustainably get your period back and keep it. You can apply now to get started in our program, and we'll leave the link for the program below. If you're not quite ready for that one-on-one approach, that's exactly why we created the Period Recovery Guide. It's designed to support the girlies working on period recovery, specifically if you've lost it due to hypothalamic amenorrhea. The full Period Recovery Guide is finally out now, and we will leave all of the information for it in the podcast show notes. This is the Eat More Carbs Podcast. Hello and welcome back. This is the Eat More Carbs Podcast. It's Jenna here with Reilly. We are both dietitians and we talk every Thursday about sports nutrition for the girlies. Specifically, we talk about period recovery, especially if you've lost it due to hypothalamic amenorrhea. On today's episode, though, we are doing our What Drives Us Bananas, so sharing a little bit about the things that we saw online or offline this week that really drove us bananas. These are some of my favorite episodes to do, but before we get into that, we are going to do our high and low. So sharing just a little bit about our week, the good, and the part we wish had gone a little bit differently. Reilly, as always, can you kick us off?
Ooh, I love a What Drives Us Bananas episode. So that could technically be my high, but I do actually have something related to the podcast. That is a high. My mother-in-law, Rob's moms, who also listens to the podcast, she taught Charlie the word podcast. I have this little sign here that says eat your carbs. And she was teaching Charlie. She's like, this is your mom's podcast.
Wait, that's amazing. I love that. Shout out to her.
Yeah, no, I love it. I just thought it was the cutest thing. But Char's vocabulary is girl is crazy. But yeah, her new word is podcast.
That's incredible. I love that. She probably learns quite a few new words in a day, right? Obviously, I don't have kids, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I try not to look too much at the developmental milestones. I have a rough idea of them, but I try not to get too caught up in them just because it's so easy to get caught up in all this stuff. Just period recovery, right? The numbers and all of that stuff. I think that was actually something that we were really working on in her speech. And now I definitely think she's doing good. We're pushing her. And it's really cute because she goes to her nanny care during the day and then she'll come home and she'll randomly point at something, say the word. And I'm I've never said that word to you, but she learned it from one of the other little girls or something. The other day she walked into the bathroom and pointed at we have a seashell. She goes, shell. And I was okay.
Yeah, you're right. Good job.
You go, girl. You go, girl. So that was my high. My low, I'm debating if I wanted to run a marathon. I feel it just depends on which week you ask me. But this week, I'm okay. I literally just ran 12 miles and I'm not even halfway there.
Those weeks during training are hard.
Yeah. It's just so hot right now and so hilly.
Especially where you are and humid too.
Yeah. I'm oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do this. I just think about I run somewhere and it's 12 miles. I'm I could run somewhere 12 miles and then I have to run 12 miles back and I still would not be done.
The mental side of training for a marathon and thinking about the mileage is half of training because you can't start to do the mental math of when you've run 18 miles and you're oh my gosh, that part gets tricky.
It's ups and downs. Next week it's probably going to be my high. So you caught me on a bad week.
I'm excited for next week then.
Yeah, fingers crossed. How's your week going?
My week's going really good. My high is related to an athlete. I shared this already on my Instagram, but she has been working so hard and so diligent about fueling appropriately. She's getting ready to run collegiately and she's actually put on a little bit of weight. And at first she was really nervous about what that meant for her running and times and all that. And she had a huge breakthrough where she was able to run in a steady state that felt so comfortable. And she was I've never been able to run that fast for that long and feel so good. And she was previously that pace would have felt more of a tempo run. And now it felt such an easy pace for her to maintain. And so she's so excited about that. And I am just so proud of her. She has been working so hard. She has a great support system behind her with her family, but overall just huge shout out to her for kind of really just taking on all of the fueling changes to make sure that she is adequately fueled and healthy and ready for her season as a collegiate runner. And just want to give another shout out to her because it's definitely been hard work and she's doing so amazing. So that's my high, is just celebrating that win with her. My low, this is so ridiculous. I spent a good amount of time doing some yard work, doing some gardening, and it was on a Sunday morning. And the next day I woke up and I was so sore. I was so
Was it your
sore.
back?
It was my back and like my hamstrings a lot. And I think that's because I was like kind of been neglecting hamstring work because I've been recovering from a hamstring kind of strain previously. So I haven't been doing a lot of that like focused work on hamstring. So I think that probably contributed. But I definitely wasn't using proper form as far as like bending down to pick up with like my legs versus bending over and picking up like with my back. Don't do what I did.
Do you regret buying a house at this point?
At this point, yeah, for sure.
I'm like, we do this to ourselves. I'm like, yes, I love having a house. But then I'm like, I literally pulled weeds for 8 hours today.
Yep. And I still am like, how are there more? How are there still more?
They always grow back.
So fast too. On today's episode though, we are talking about what drives us bananas. So sharing just a little bit about the things that we saw online or maybe offline that absolutely drove us bananas. We'd love to hear from you though in the comments section what you saw this week that drove you bananas.
Jenna, I feel like since we started doing these episodes, there's just more and more things that drive me bananas.
It's just an ever-growing list. I could do this episode every single week if I wanted to.
I know we talk all the time offline about a lot of these things, but it's 2025. Like, why are we seeing some of the stuff that we're seeing online?
I don't know, but my gosh, it drives me bananas.
What drove you bananas? What have you been seeing this week?
Okay, I think that because we talk quite a bit about like the what I eat in a day videos and things like that, my phone that listens into the conversation has been like showing me a lot more of that content on social media recently. And it's always driven us bananas. We've talked multiple times about why those things are just oof for us, but specifically something has kind of changed with some of the ones that I have seen. And maybe this trend has been going on for longer, but because typically I don't see these types of things or I try not to see these types of things, I haven't been aware that this change has occurred. But there's a trend for what I eat in a day as a girly who eats high protein, no processed foods or low processed foods, gluten-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free. And then the individual will be like, I start every day with my colostrum. And I am immediately like, okay, well, why is that not processed food? Because that is a processed food. And then that's dairy. And for some reason, that's okay to take. And you're going to have a ton of supplements that come in little packages that look like running goo that are supposedly going to help with some arbitrary thing. And for some reason, you have deemed those things appropriate for all of these rules that you've set up for why you eat the way that you do. But those things are okay because you're getting a kickback from a supplement company for showing them in your video or for when people use your discount code. I'm not really sure, but why are those things okay in your what I eat in a day video at the very beginning when you just said you don't eat processed foods, you don't eat dairy, and then you immediately do those things. That's how you're starting your day. And then once you get through the bajillion and 10 supplements that you take that are supposedly not processed foods, you eat less than what a baby needs for the remainder of the day. It's 3 extraordinarily small meals that I don't even know how you could have the energy to function to make this video off of. The absurdity that these videos have become, like I feel like they started and it was already like showing off like very low intake, showing abs beforehand, things like that. But the amount that we have reduced fueling to in these videos is concerning to the point of like, are we doing it as a little bit of a jump scare of like, this is how little I can actually function off of in a day? It's bananas. And I hate the wording of, I don't eat any processed foods, I don't eat any dairy, and then immediately we're doing colostrum. I know we've talked about colostrum before and that being one thing that drives us bananas. So I guess it's like the pairing together of the what I eat in the day, all of these food rules I set for myself that I don't actually follow, and then immediately doing colostrum. Like,
this is why people are so confused about nutrition though, because what we've done is we just made it complicated because we have rules, but then we like break the rules for certain exceptions. And then you're like, I'm confused because we're not supposed to eat processed foods, but like, here's a supplement, here's a protein powder. And then you're like, I'm confused on this. I also think too that these like what I eat in a day videos are like humble bragging. Like, look how much discipline I have. This is how little I eat. And therefore this is what I look like. And like eating a little amount or like eating as little as possible is like not a flex. Like that's not something that I feel like we need to welcome or celebrate, I guess you could say, in our society. And that's what we do. Like we never celebrate people for like getting their period back. I mean, we do, right? We're always jumping up and down, but like we're not celebrating like eating more or fueling our body properly. We're celebrating like small meals,
lack of intake.
Yeah. How can we eat as little as possible? Like, come on, guys.
Right? But really, it's so unusual that that's something that we almost look at and like praise and reward versus when you actually fuel your body appropriately. Why aren't we talking about and celebrating and encouraging females and female athletes to fuel appropriately? Why instead are we continuously showing and encouraging under fueling?
I think this is why a lot of athletes really struggle when they compare their plates to others, because a lot of the times they need more energy, they need more fuel, they need more food, and society have glorified like minimal intake. So they feel self-conscious because they are fueling properly, or they have a plate full of food, and those around them do not have the same intake because they also have different needs. They also might not have a great relationship with food. And this becomes like really overwhelming and can be very triggering for an athlete, especially if you are on a period recovery journey.
Oh, there are so many things that I think and feel about this for sure. One of the biggest ones is definitely that when you are on a period recovery journey, if you are comparing yourself or looking at the What I Eat in a Day videos and it makes you feel some type of way because you consume more energy than that person, the biggest thing is that we don't know what's going on in that person's life. And we definitely cannot believe them when they show the What I Eat in a Day video as being truthful, as that's the only things they ate that day, or that's actually what was all that day. I mean, those could be 3 meals from 3 different days for all we know. It's just not what we need to do in order to promote our own recovery journey by watching someone else under fuel.
A lot of the times too, these influencers and people who are sharing these videos, they themselves might not have a period. And I think that we often assume just by the way somebody looks, how healthy they are. That's just not true, because like health doesn't have a look, and we need to get over that.
We've talked about this before, but if you're listening to this podcast, there's a chance that you don't have a period, you're working through period recovery, or you know someone who's working through period recovery. And the unfortunate thing is that the symptom of underfueling that you might be experiencing is the loss of a period. But other people might still be underfueling and they just have other symptoms of underfueling. They just might not have the symptom of loss of a period. And it feels unfair that your symptom is losing your period. But that's a good way to look at it and say, okay, even though my teammate might still have a period, they might still be underfueling. They just might not have the same symptom.
We talked about this a lot in our episode about like signs and symptoms that your period is coming back, and just like, again, signs and symptoms of low energy availability. You just bring up such a good point, Jenna, because a loss of a period is not the only sign or symptom of underfueling. It is just one of the signs and symptoms of underfueling.
It is sometimes the most obvious sign of underfueling. And we've talked about this in that same episode where unfortunately, maybe fortunately, it is a very obvious sign of underfueling. So you know that something needs to change in order to address underfueling. But for someone else who's still having a period, they might not be even realizing that that's impacting their bone health. And wouldn't you rather know that something is going on that's going to impact the health of your body for the long term and then be unaware of that for the entire time? So yes, it is hard. It is difficult for sure, but it's almost a sign that we can use as a very easy way to tell whether or not we are underfueling or not.
Yeah, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, because it's something that shows us, like you said, that we're underfueling, and other symptoms might not be as obvious.
And we never know what the other people might be experiencing for as far as symptoms or their relationship with food or their own struggles with food and food history.
On the topic of kind of promoting this like lifestyle, right, that we look at online, where we look at somebody else and we think, oh, if they're in a certain, body, or if they're eating a certain way, like they're happy. I think this is something that's like a common misconception, because a lot of people, I think maybe it's not conscious, it could even be subconscious, is you look at people online and think like, oh, if I had a body like her, then I would be happy. And I think it's really easy to put ourselves in other people's shoes and be like, oh, if I just did this, like then I'd be happy, then I'd be a better athlete, then I would be healthier. But again, like we just really don't know what other people are going through.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up. I actually worked recently with an athlete and we've talked a lot about this, how she reduced her intake, her body changed and lost her period. Now she has regained a little bit of that lost mass. She has gotten her period back. She is feeling better. She is feeling better. And we've had so many conversations about how even though she received maybe more positive feedback or more attention for the way that her body looked when it was smaller, she wasn't any happier. In fact, she was way more unhappy at that point in time because she was missing out on social things. She was feeling underfueled all the time. She was moody. She was unhappy. Like all of these things that were happening happening. And she was like, it wasn't worth it. There was no point in time in which I felt like having a smaller body for that period of time made me happier, made me a better friend, made me a better sister, made me a better daughter, or any of those things. I was just constantly unhappy and constantly worried about the way that I looked. And I think that all plays back into this kind of idea of it's not going to impact your happiness or how you feel or experience life.
Isn't it crazy like how much happier you are when you feel your body? Like I've had similar conversations like this past month as well. It's something that, I don't know, like if we advertised, like if you get your period back, like you'd be happier. Like I don't think anybody would actually like listen to us, but it really is crazy how like healing your relationship with food, being in a positive or maintenance energy balance can improve so many areas of your life, like not just athletic performance.
Right. And that's not to say that if you experience body changes during your period recovery journey, that those aren't still really difficult as far as navigating. Like body changes are hard. Change is hard for sure. So definitely not to say that, but the end result, getting to that other side of like feeling so much better, feeling like you have fueled your body, and then performance improvements and all the things that come along with it. It's kind of the other side of it. So if you are in the middle or in the thick of period recovery and you're like, I do not feel any happier right now, it's valid to feel that way. We've seen it. We've been there with people, and you've got this.
You do got this. Oh, I love that.
What about you? What is driving you bananas this week?
I feel like we just ended on such a happy and positive note, and I'm about to bring it back down with things that are driving me bananas because, Jenna, I am furious. There's this company called Willow Health. I don't know if you've heard of it. I'm calling them out.
I actually think I've gotten maybe like a few ads on social media for this. So tell us a little bit more, because I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure.
Okay. I have not really clicked on the company because I've already seen the ads, and I continue to get more and more of them because I commented on a couple of them because like,
oh, she was mad.
I was so spicy. I was like, this is like the straw right now, y'all. Like I was so spicy. Like I never really comment on stuff. Like there's just like too many things out there to like, you just gotta, focus on what you can focus on, control what you can control. But some of these ads that I'm seeing from this company called Willow are not okay. They are not okay. And I know that there's a lot of other people in the space. There's a lot of other dietitians out there who are commenting on some of these and kind of bringing them up. The ads are these GLP-1 ads, which again, it goes back to the why with GLP-1s, right? They are appropriate for certain individuals. It's a discussion that you make with your physician, but Willow is coming for the girlies, and I'm not okay with that. We talk about sports nutrition for the girlies here. You know our stance on stuff. They are trying to go after insecurities that the girlies have, and it's not okay. It is not okay. They're putting out ads. It makes me so mad. They're like on little cakes. Like they're trying to be cute. And they're like, hey girlies, like you don't have to be obese to like get on a GLP-1. And they go, hey girlies, the reason you got ghosted, ... sign up for a GLP-1. Are you kidding me?
No, that's unreal.
And the problem is now I keep getting all of them because I commented on them, and it just makes me so mad. Like every time I go onto the internet, because they're trying to go after weight and how we look as females and saying that it's not good enough and not the reason that we're not happy, kind of like what we just talked about, or like that's why we're still
that's the reason why you would be desirable as a partner, the way that you currently look. No. You're right. We did just go from a high to a low with that one. I cannot believe that that's the way that they would. I understand that it's a business. At the same time, that is just so wrong, in my opinion.
What makes me even more upset, I think, is there's a group of people sitting around a table, and we talk about this all the time, especially with like our business bootcamp clients and dietitians, but like you have to market to a certain population. They are sitting around a table and being like, what are girls 25 to 35? What are they insecure about? And how can we market off of this? Jenna, I cannot.
Reilly, I have so many thoughts on this. Immediately though, I think about how many times I have said on this podcast with a client, like the way that you look is the least interesting thing about you. And now this company is saying the exact opposite thing, that the reason why someone would be interested in being your partner or being your friend or anything like that has everything to do with what your body looks like. And that, if we just like look on it at a very, very like surface level, is so false. And that's not just me saying that. Like no one is friends with you because of the way that you look. That is absolutely bananas. It is so understandable that anybody would see that and feel like that would be the reason why, especially if you are in a struggling place with like food and body image.
Yeah. I know my daughter is only 18 months old and like she's not reading this stuff. I cannot imagine if she ever came across some of this content.
Oh my gosh, yeah. What have you commented back? Because now I'm curious.
I think I just was like, this is completely inappropriate. I'm like, this is so inappropriate. Like, we've seen thousands of athletes that have disordered eating because of comments like this. We have worked with athletes that have been told by coaches, male and female coaches, that they aren't good enough because of the way that their body looks. I personally was told that I was not going to survive at the college soccer level because of the way that I looked. Leave me alone. I'm going through puberty. I'm like, come on.
I don't know if I've ever actually publicly shared this. I've definitely shared this with you off of line before, but when I first went to college, I didn't have the intention of studying nutrition. Through a lot of my own struggles that were going on through the time, wanted to learn more about nutrition, but I think the tipping point for me for wanting to become a dietitian and learn specifically more about sports nutrition, I was working as a coach at the time with a field of other male coaches. I was one of the only female coaches on the team, and in front of everyone at practice, they were talking about the puberty changes that a female athlete was going through and how that was negatively impacting her performance in front of everyone. And I still to this day have a tremendous amount of guilt that I didn't say anything at the time. Still weighs heavy on me that like I didn't speak up in that moment because I should have. That is why I do what I do. That is why we're so passionate about making sure that female athletes are fueled appropriately and we are not focusing on body image. And I feel like this just kind of plays into that, and it just, oh man, oof.
Like, puberty is something that's going to happen. Like, see this all the time. It's like, oh, you know, when girls go through puberty, they get slower.
No.
Why is this a bad thing? Like, why is puberty a bad thing?
Why is it that when male athletes mature and they grow and they get taller, we're suddenly super excited? Running, swimming, where they're like, oh, you've got longer arms, you've got a longer reach now to hit the wall first. Same thing with a female athlete. When you go through puberty, you're going to grow, you're going to be taller. Why aren't we celebrating that? Why aren't we looking at it and being like, this is great. Your body is progressing in a way that is notifying us that you're healthy.
It just got to stop.
I'm thankful that there are people like you out in the world fighting the good fight and commenting on those things. And even if they delete your comment, maybe just one person saw it and realized that this is just marketing that's targeting the insecurities that we all have. It's not something that they need to listen to. So thanks for commenting and being vulnerable in that sense, because a lot of times, like when, I don't know, I feel this way, but like commenting on things, like you put a target on yourself sometimes when you comment on social media sometimes. So thanks for doing that.
I just couldn't let this one fly. It's not appropriate. It's not okay. I also don't like to call people out. I'm like, y'all have got to stop.
This is such a weird flashback moment, but when we were in the internship, there was a certain individual who still posts online misinformation about food. And it was something about maple syrup. I can't remember the exact thing, but it was one of the only times that you commented back being like calling someone out online. And we were sitting in that little tiny closet at hospital and you were like, do I post it? Do I post this? And I was like, yes, you need to call them out. And we were like so nervous about it. And this was years and years ago now at this point in time. You were just sharing like a very kind opinion, but you were still like hesitant to even do that. So yeah, I can imagine that that's not something that felt like within your wheelhouse to call this company out.
We're maturing, Jenna, right? You're in PT. I tapered for my half. We're standing up for ourselves. Let's go.
We're doing things. We have a lot of things that drive us bananas. So if there are things that drive you bananas that you have seen online, leave them in the comments of this podcast. If you do have questions for Reilly and I about period recovery, about fueling, about anything in general, please reach out to us. You can find us online. You can find Reilly at easy.sports.nutrition, and you can find me at jenna.fisher.nutrition. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please make sure you rate, subscribe, and review. And as always, remember to eat more carbs.